Todd Chrisley admits he threatened another inmate while in prison. Hello, everyone. Welcome back for another video. I hope everyone's having a great day. Before watching the video, please subscribe and like it. Todd Chrisley has admitted that he threatened another inmate while he was in federal prison. This is shocking for fans to hear, as Todd is not a violent person. However, he was not playing around, and he was dead serious when it came to what he said. He will always stand up for and protect his children. This is exactly what he was doing. There is a lot to unfold and uncover when it comes to this. Keep reading to find out more about this situation. Todd Chrisley is ready to speak his truth. Todd Chrisley was in federal prison for tax evasion and fraud. However, he was pardoned along with his wife, Julie Chrisley. The two got out and have been putting their lives back together piece by piece. Since his release, Todd has been open to talking about his experience. However, he is still denying that he and his wife did anything wrong. Although he is not afraid to talk about his experiences in prison or how it was without his family, fans have been keeping up with them since their show, Chrisley Knows Best. So they do have a lot of people supporting them now that they are out. He admits he threatened another inmate while in prison. Todd Chrisley has admitted that he threatened another inmate while he was in federal prison. In fact, it was William Rick Singer who was known for his college admission scandal. The two kind of got into it before. However, he was talking crap on Savannah and Todd was not going to stand for it. Months later, he was talking about Savannah, 'cause that's when shit already started pulling Barbara Walters and exposing everything in the BOP. So he started talking smack. And so I just walked up to him and I said, "I'm gonna say this one more time. I'm already in prison." I said, "I will rip your head off and shit down your neck if you talk about my child again." And I meant what I said, and you know I would have done that. I was like, "I don't need you to be afraid of me. Just be aware that if my daughter's name comes out of your mouth again, I will rip your head off and down your neck." The two did not have problems after that. However, Todd was not messing around when it came to putting his foot down. He did not want anyone talking badly about his children. It seems as though Todd was not messing around with someone talking badly about Savannah. He put his foot down immediately, and the situation never occurred again. He was going to defend his daughter. He was already in prison, so he did not mind doing what he had to do. Thankfully, it never came to that point. However, he was prepared to do whatever he had to. What do you think about this situation? Are you shocked that Todd said this? In a revelation that has shocked fans, followers, and even some of his fiercest critics, Todd Chrisley, the once polished and prideful patriarch of the Chrisley Knows Best reality empire, has openly admitted to threatening another inmate during his incarceration, marking one of the most candid and controversial chapters yet in the ongoing real-life drama that has replaced his television stardom. With courtroom headlines and prison walls, the confession, raw and unfiltered, has added a jarring twist to Todd's already turbulent post-fame journey, offering a rare glimpse into the stark emotional and psychological toll that life behind bars has taken on the man who once seemed untouchable in the world of Southern charm and family wealth. It's a far cry from the carefully curated life Todd used to project on screen, where every hair was in place, every quip was polished, and every problem seemed solvable with a dramatic monologue and a dose of tough love. Now stripped of his designer suits, lavish backdrops, and daily glam routines, Todd finds himself navigating a reality that's darker, rougher, and far more complex than any scripted moment from his former show. And in this raw reality, he has admitted that his carefully maintained composure cracked, revealing a side of him that fans rarely saw, a side fueled by fear, frustration, and the intense psychological pressure that comes from being a high-profile figure locked inside a world where power, respect, and safety are constantly up for grabs. According to those close to the situation, the incident occurred several months into his sentence during a period described by insiders as emotionally volatile and psychologically intense. Sources say Todd was struggling to adjust to the harsh realities of prison life, far removed from the world he once dominated and at odds with the deeply ingrained persona that made him both beloved and ridiculed on reality television. It was during this emotionally vulnerable stretch that an altercation allegedly broke out between Todd and another inmate, with tensions escalating to the point where words were exchanged that crossed the line from assertive to threatening. In his own words, Todd did not deny the event. He owned it fully with a level of honesty that surprised even those who have stood by him through the years. He admitted that yes, he had threatened another inmate, and that in the moment he felt cornered, pushed beyond his limit, and consumed by a sense of desperation and helplessness that made him lash out in a way that went against everything he tried to teach his children, his fans, and himself over the years. It was a moment, he says, he regrets deeply, but one that he believes was born out of the intense need to assert boundaries and protect himself in an environment where vulnerability can be misinterpreted as weakness, and where respect often has to be claimed rather than given. For Todd, who has long prided himself on his control, wit, and charisma, the prison environment has been a sobering experience, an emotional boot camp that stripped away the performative layers and forced him to confront the rawest parts of his personality. Gone are the cameras, the producers, the opportunities to edit and shape a narrative. Now what remains is a man forced to live with every unfiltered word and action under the constant gaze of fellow inmates and corrections officers. And it is within this crucible that he says he had to make difficult decisions, one of which was choosing to confront someone he believed was crossing a dangerous line. While Todd did not provide graphic detail about the nature of the conflict, he did indicate that it involved repeated attempts by the other party to provoke him emotionally and verbally, a situation that built up over time until Todd says he snapped, unleashing what he calls a sharp and aggressive warning meant to establish boundaries and prevent the situation from escalating into something physical. He insists that no violence occurred and that his words were driven by the need to assert his own emotional safety in an environment that offered little protection from psychological warfare or manipulation. The confession has sparked an immediate wave of public reaction, with fans and critics divided over whether the admission paints Todd in a more human light or reveals a more troubling pattern of behavior. Some see his candor as a sign of growth, a willingness to strip away the facade and reveal the painful truth of what life in prison can do to a person, particularly someone accustomed to control, order, and fame. Others see it as evidence of a deeper volatility, suggesting that the same pride and defensiveness that once made him a captivating TV presence may now be contributing to his struggles behind bars. Savannah Chrisley, who has remained one of her father's most vocal defenders, has yet to publicly comment on the confession, though those close to her say she remains unwavering in her belief that her father is doing his best to navigate an impossible situation with as much grace and honesty as he can muster. Sources say she has known about the incident for some time and has encouraged her father to speak openly about it as a way of reclaiming power over his own narrative, rather than letting speculation and half-truths shape the public's perception of him even further. Julie Chrisley, Todd's wife, who is also serving time in a separate facility, is said to have been deeply affected by the confession, though not entirely surprised. According to family sources, Julie has long been concerned about the psychological toll prison would take on Todd, fearing that his outspoken nature and high-profile status would make him a target for manipulation or confrontation within the prison system. She is believed to support his decision to speak out about the incident, seeing it as a step toward emotional honesty and the necessary reckoning with the pressures he faces daily. The broader implications of Todd's admission are still unfolding. Legal experts note that while threats within prison are not uncommon and often go unreported, the admission could still attract scrutiny from prison officials or be used by critics to question his behavior and mental state behind bars. However, those closest to Todd insist that the confession is not about making excuses or shifting blame, but rather about showing the raw reality of life inside a system that offers little grace to those who come into it already burdened by fame and public perception. Todd's legal team has also weighed in, stressing that the incident did not result in any physical altercation, disciplinary action, or formal charge within the prison system. They say the moment passed without further incident, and that Todd took steps afterward to de-escalate the situation and reflect on his behavior, including seeking counseling from prison chaplains and participating in group sessions focused on conflict resolution and emotional management. They argue that the incident should be seen not as evidence of dangerous behavior, but as proof of the emotional tightrope many inmates, especially high-profile ones, must walk every single day. As for the public fallout, the confession has added a layer of complexity to the already intricate narrative of the Chrisleys' rise and fall from grace for a family that once embodied aspirational reality television fame. The revelation is another reminder that behind the glitz and glamour, there were always deeper struggles, simmering beneath the surface, struggles that have now come to the forefront in ways no one could have anticipated. It is also a reminder of how dramatically the Chrisley story has shifted from curated television moments to unfiltered real-life confessions. Still, some fans have expressed gratitude for the honesty, saying they appreciate the glimpse into Todd's real emotional state and his willingness to show the messiness that comes with true personal transformation in a world that often demands perfection and punishes vulnerability. Todd's confession may be uncomfortable, but for many it feels necessary, and breaking down of the walls between celebrity and humanity, a raw moment that says, I am struggling, I am learning, and I am still standing. What comes next for Todd remains uncertain, while his legal team continues to work on appeals and family members push for clemency or sentence reductions. The emotional road ahead remains steep, filled with daily challenges, internal battles, and a deep need for self-reflection and healing. But if this confession is any indication, Todd is beginning to understand that real strength lies not in bravado, but in the willingness to confront one's own imperfections and take responsibility for one's own growth. As the prison doors remain closed and the world outside continues to debate his guilt, innocence, and everything in between, Todd Chrisley is learning that redemption is not a destination, but a journey, one paved with difficult truths, personal reckonings, and the courage to say, I was wrong, I was scared, and I am still figuring it all out. And in a world that so often demands a neat ending, this messy and human chapter might just be the most compelling part of the Chrisley story yet. Sounds odd? In the comments below. We would love to hear your thoughts on this situation. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, America Trends 24, and stay with us.